Number 10. An advocate for Maui. Oprah has been claiming to be many things since this Maui backlash thing has started. A good boss, a charitable woman, and an advocate for the island of Maui. By starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she's made her mark in the public as a woman who cares. So much so that she's asking you to give her your money. Isn't that nice? As mentioned in previous videos, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have a vested stake on the island. Oprah's had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her. When the fire started raging, she started fundraising. Think about all of the things that have happened in the past few years. We all forgot about Australia being set on fire in 2020. A lot of Western Canada was on fire earlier this year, and some parts of Florida have been underwater for a long time, and they just kind of live with it. Yet Oprah has dedicated her time and money to helping out the area where she has a vacation home. Do with that what you will. Number 9. The NDAs. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel will literally track you down if you say anything about their movies to anyone. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions there were confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guests were made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the guy who made his breakfast in the morning. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign these documents, with one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, trying to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was eventually stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to just keep show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everybody in Oprah's life, and she may have had this brand of sweetness and kindness, but that it was just not how she was. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, there was even a lawsuit filed against Oprah and her company from a training performance center that was claiming that they were fired for violating the terms of her agreement, but all they did was just advertise that they were doing stuff for her show, so not sure what's wrong there. Number 8. Diva. On air, Oprah is portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmother, there's actually this unknown side to Oprah, hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people that you're ever gonna meet. She claims that Oprah does not allow herself and her husband to stay at Oprah's home whenever they try to visit, which means that they have to stay in hotels with money out of their own pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was very quick to anger when it came to her staff especially, with a lot of people being fired over the years left and right for the littlest things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows Oprah to stay at her home when she visits, which she just complains about the entire time. The first time she ever stayed there, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets weren't 1,000 threads and that her bath towel wasn't big enough, but that's fair. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and what she wants to do is make her family feel like a burden to the world. Number 7. Controversial beliefs. Oprah has had plenty of controversial people onto her show, from so-called medical experts to psychologists to celebrities. Whatever's good for TV, it's good for Oprah. One particular incident that caused a ton of backlash for Oprah was when she did an interview with Suzanne Summers. She was brought onto the show to share her beauty secrets on how she was able to look so young. According to Summers, this treatment that she does on a regular basis would help people. She claimed that she rubs estrogen cream into her skin on one arm and smears progesterone into the other arm. Progesterone is just a fancy way of saying steroids. She also claimed that she took 60 supplements and vitamins a day, 40 in the morning and 20 before bed. What really stirred the pot was that this woman claimed to be a health expert and self-help author, but surprise surprise, doctor, she was not. Medical experts started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy was actually the cause of several diseases and illnesses, like cancer. Despite Suzanne's claims that her specially made non-FDA approved bioidenticals were natural and safe, they were actually just synthetic conventional hormones that you could buy from a pharmacy. A little label smacked on the front. Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that these methods were useful, even claiming to have used the methods to make herself feel incredible. So Oprah would rather risk her audience getting cancer than telling them the truth. Solid. Number 6. The free cars. Who could forget Oprah's famous words? You get a car, you get a car, everybody got a car. The moment was historical on her series and was parodied time and time again, and it still does to this day. However, what a lot of people do not know is that it wasn't as simple as here's some car keys, go have fun. That would be insane. No, when someone gives you anything on television, especially if it's free, there's a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they'd have to pay over $7,000 in taxes this first. While Oprah's studio would cover the sales tax and registration for the cars, their audience members were given a choice to either pay $7,000 and take the car, or just simply keep that cash instead. The famous moment she shouted this on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience members, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch though, even now. For someone who was known for being charitable and generous, the word free really does mean something different to Oprah. Number 5. The fabricated memoirs. This is a time when Oprah kind of ruined someone's life when she brought them onto her show. Oprah launched her book club in 1996, a reading encouraging segment from her talk show that turned any book that she chose into a bestseller. In September 2005, Winfrey picked A Million Little Pieces, a brutal and painful memoir by James Frett about his years-long struggle with substance control issues. A Million Little Pieces became the best-selling nonfiction book of that year, and Frey was asked to appear on her talk show to discuss the book that Oprah called gut-wrenching. However, the following year, a news outlet ran a very expositive article about Frey after it was discovered that he made up or juiced large portions of his memoir. For example, there is a section of the book that tells a story of Frey surviving a fatal train crash that took the lives of 2 teenagers. Well, he was never on that train and he didn't have anything to do with that situation. He just wrote about it and was like, I was there. Weeks after the article broke, Oprah asked Frey to return to the show, where he faced livid viewers and an even more livid Oprah. She told James that she felt duped and betrayed, which was a feeling that was shared by her audience and millions of readers around the world. When she asked James why he felt the need to lie to herself and her readers, he tried everything, making every excuse he could think of, and he claimed that he altered a lot of details, but that the overall plot was real. While the studio audience responded with a massive wave of boos, gasps, and groans, and Winfrey later apologized for the mistreatment from her audience, because that wasn't her intention. But the damage was already done, and this dude's career as a writer is non-existent. Number 4. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who's unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claimed that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each and every race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that flows inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing that people were claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was like a mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying that he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than to create a problem. Well, unfortunately for him, he was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling community. Number 3. Where's the beef? In spring of 1996, the United Kingdom apparently experienced an outbreak of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or mad cow disease, since I can't pronounce that last word. According to the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat the infected meat, you get zombies that can't. No, you can contract a deadly variant called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, probably named after the first dude who got the disease. During the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lyman. The former cattle rancher had adopted a vegetarian lifestyle, and he went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Co-Science Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cows to America. He pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cow to infected cattle or other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that a lot of that was happening in the US right then and there. Oprah was stunned and vowed that she would never eat another burger ever again. Well, it turns out her influence and her millions of viewers were so large that only a few hours after the episode aired and she declared that she wasn't eating hamburgers ever again, the price of beef stock plummeted, staying at an all-time low for 2 months. In fact, one Texas rancher lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action lawsuit against Oprah and her show for talking trash about beef. After a 6-week trial, she won, leaving one dude with no farm and out hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Number 2. Trespasser. So, there is a video circulating the internet that a lot of people are interpreting as a direct message to Oprah Winfrey. Jason Momoa released a video on his Instagram a few weeks ago, urging tourists not to come to Maui as the place was on fire and, they didn't need anybody's help. He claimed that he appreciated anyone sharing love for the people of Maui and continued to say that there was someone trying to scam people out of money that was pretending to be him online. After sharing links to several sites that were directly linked to putting money into the pockets of the people of Maui, fans decided to focus on the bit about people staying away. Now, at the same time that this was happening, Oprah and The Rock had announced the People's Fund of Maui, and the thing was that caused a lot of backlash for Oprah. And in Jason's video, he does not include a link to the charity and doesn't even acknowledge its existence. He has since spoken about the charity, but has never actually said the names Oprah or Dwayne out loud. People are just putting two and two together though, and the internet has decided that Jason Momoa has called Oprah Winfrey a trespasser. Number 1. Whoopi Goldberg. In author Kitty Kelly's unauthorized Oprah biography, Kelly claims that Whoopi Goldberg became a persona non grata, or an unwelcome person in Oprah's life, after Whoopi was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Color Purple. The book noted that following the honor, the comedian never appeared on Oprah's show again and was noticeably shunned from her 2006 Legends Ball. It wasn't until Oprah invited the entire cast of The Color Purple onto the show that the so-called feud was addressed. It turns out that Oprah had actually ran into Whoopi at Tyler Perry's party sometime after the 2006 snub. Goldberg confronted Oprah, leading to a hilariously adorable moment where Oprah asked why Whoopi was mad at her, to which Whoopi was like, "I'm not mad at you, I thought you were mad at me, what's going on here?" They mutually agreed that they really should have just picked up the phone a long time ago and figured the whole thing out and settled the dispute. Number 10. Katy Perry collects hair. The singer was once asked during an interview a very simple and cute question of, "What's in your purse?" And fans perhaps hoped that she would respond with a bottle of Killer Queen or a cupcake crumb. But Katy Perry answered, "It's just a big empty bag." But she went on to describe what used to be in the purse. She claimed that while in attendance at her first Grammy Awards ceremony, she got to share a dressing room with Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift. Now, with all that excitement, you'd think she'd ask for a picture or something, right? No, she asked them for a lock of each of their hairs, which Katy found, quote, "totally awesome." Well, her definition of the word awesome must be very different from ours, because this sounds just creepy as all heck. She then elaborated that she would tie little bows to each of them and put them in her purse. Now, this sounds so made up, how could it be true? Well, Miley and Taylor actually backed up this story online, and Perry claims to this day that Miley Cyrus is both the most famous person in her purse and in her contacts. Oh, hey, Katie, I think you dropped something. Number 9. Ellen mistreats employees. In her first on-air appearance since announcing the end of her eponymous daytime talk show, Ellen DeGeneres called the press cycle around allegations of toxicity at her workplace orchestrated and misogynistic. The announcement that her show would be canceled came after months of receiving negative press following a BuzzFeed article reporting former employees alleging that the environment was racially insensitive, filled with harassment and bullying. Ellen maintained in interviews that these allegations were not the reason that she would be leaving the show, simply claiming that the program was no longer challenging for her. While the BuzzFeed report did not allege toxic behavior by Ellen herself, several former staff members claimed that the whole "be kind" motto she had was not genuine at all, which was reflected in a Twitter thread published by comedian Kevin T. Porter. He asked people to send in their horror stories about the host's rudeness over the years, and he received over 2,000 replies. Warner Brothers opened an investigation and concluded that there were some flaws in the day-to-day management at the studio. Following this, Ellen appeared on the 18th season premiere of her show in 2020 and made an on-air apology to viewers, claiming responsibility, later stating that there was no way she could know the true nature of the work environment due to the 255 employees that worked for her across multiple buildings. Hey, ever heard of a complaint box? Number 8. Prince Charles's affair. He's now the King of England, but he's not always played by the rules. You see, in 1981, Prince Charles, at the time, married Lady Diana, who was 20 years old at the time, leaving a 13-year age gap between them. Behind closed doors, it was speculated that Charles was never in love with Diana in the first place, and it was later proven to be true. While on the outside things seemed pleasant, behind the scenes, Charles was secretly meeting up and having an affair with his ex-girlfriend Camilla Bowles. The alleged relationship was written about in the 1992 Diana Her True Story book, but in 1994, Charles confirmed the allegations in a documentary, because that's a great place to do that.
The couple filed for a divorce in 1996, and Diana died 1 year later. While the now king made it clear that he had no plans to remarry, he ended up getting remarried in 2005 to, oh hey, look, it's Camilla Bowles. Shocking. Number 7. Jonathan Majors charges. Jonathan Majors may be familiar to those of you who are fans of the MCU as Kang the Conqueror, the newest big bad addition to the never-ending roster of villains in Marvel's Rogue Gallery. Unfortunately, it looks like he may end up getting the CGI eraser treatment due to an incident in March of this year. Majors was arrested on misdemeanor charges of and following a domestic dispute with his girlfriend. These charges, however, would only be the first domino to fall, as rumors began circulating about similar instances in the past, with many people in both the Yale community, where he went to school, and the New York theater scene, where he studied and practiced performing, claiming Majors was well known for being emotionally violent and professionally abusive, but never physically violent. While Majors is currently in a battle to prove his innocence, claiming the situation to have been blown out of proportions, a series of texts uncovered by his lawyer seemingly proved that there was some merit to the incident. They showed Majors' girlfriend had passed out during the incident and as such had to be hospitalized, where she was reported to have several bruises and scratch marks throughout her entire body. This meant that the charges would stick, and Majors is definitely on his way to the bottomless pit of cancelled celebrities. Number 6. Caitlyn Jenner's transition. Now, this one isn't disturbing because of Caitlyn, it's because of how many people felt that her business needed to be a part of their lives. Let people live, you jerks. Rumors had been circulating of Caitlyn's transition since the early 1970s. The former Olympian had publicly denied these rumors for years, with many family members and friends even backing her story up time and time again. But in 2015, the rumors had begun surfacing again due to Jenner being spotted leaving a doctor's office by a tabloid journalist, supposedly after just receiving estrogen treatments. Jenner had also recently undergone reconstructive surgery, which seemed to only add more fuel to the fire. The photo taken and the speculation began to go viral, despite Jenner not being fully out at the time. But a few months later, following these events, she came out as transgender on a highly publicized interview for Diane Sawyer. In the interview, Jenner expressed the gender identity struggles that she has faced through her entire life, having to hide her true self in order to maintain some macho, sporty persona, and for fear of not being accepted. Even revealing that her first wife, Christy Scott, was the first to really understand her struggles, and despite being divorced in 1998, she's publicly expressed her well wishes towards Caitlyn and how proud she is for being herself. You go, girl. Number 5. Kevin Spacey. For a long time, Kevin Spacey was well known in the Hollywood community as a quality actor with a steady career and no signs of that stopping. That was until October 2017, when a BuzzFeed article, once again, had been published alleging that Spacey had made unwanted advances towards a then 14 Anthony Rapp. Spacey was quick to deny the speculation, claiming it to be another Hollywood scandal to fill screen time, but since the release of that article, 30 more people have come forward with their own allegations against Spacey, ranging from harassment to attempted assault. Spacey pulled back, fake apologizing for what he says must have been some drunken behavior to Rapp, and he even attempted to shift the subject by coming out of the closet. But the truth had already been set free, and becoming a part of the now famous Me Too movement, Spacey was dropped from all projects he was involved in and has been on Hollywood's blacklist ever since, where he rightfully belongs. Number 4. Tiger Woods' infidelity. Since 1999, the famous golfer had not gone a single year without winning at least one golf major championship. In fact, between the years of 1997 and 2008, he had won 14 majors. He was married to a model, had a beautiful home, and pockets full of cash. What more could you want? Apparently for Tiger, he wanted someone that wasn't his wife. In late November 2009, Tiger was seen by neighbors being chased out of his home by his wife, Ellen Nordegren, with a golf club, before peeling out of his driveway in his Escalade and crashing into a fire hydrant and then a tree. He lied unconscious on the street for 6 minutes before coming to, but by that time, it was already too late. News coverage began speculating that there must have been some case of infidelity with Tiger and his wife. And while rumors had speculated that Tiger had a mistress on the side, it turned out that this guy had a lady in every course, so to speak. He admitted on air to the misdoings and lost his endorsements with Nike, Gatorade, Gillette, and Accenture, before announcing his retirement entirely from golf. Woods reportedly confessed to sleeping with 120 women outside of his marriage, but it wasn't until April 2010 when Ellen decided to split up with Woods for good good after she discovered that one of those mistresses was the next door neighbor's daughter who was in college at the time. Go Capanu! Number 3. John Lennon's investigation. Lead guitarist of the Beatles and an incredible musician in his own right, John Lennon was always very open on his political views. He was anti-war, anti-establishment, and anti-government, proven by his counterculture-esque songs like Give Peace a Chance. This marked Lennon as a national threat, and his theory on what that meant was a little fishy. Many times in interviews, he would claim that he was under surveillance 24/7 and that he was seeing the same cars driving near his residence essentially every day. Now, while at first this was taken as the ramblings of a hippie under the influence of mind-altering narcotics, this theory was proven to be true in 1972 when the Immigration and Naturalization Service tried to deport him after the FBI had confirmed that Lennon was under investigation for over a year. He was able to fight back and stay in the country to continue his anti-war agenda. See, hippies aren't always crazy. Okay? Number 2. Arnold has a secret kid. Action movie star and former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger made headlines in 2011 with the revelation that an old rumor was in fact true. In 1996, Arnold was married to Maria Shriver, a member of the Kennedy family, and they were prepping to welcome their new son Christopher into the world. Arnie didn't prep by building cribs or baby-proofing the outlets though. Instead, he chose to have an affair with his longtime housekeeper Mildred Baina. Around the same time Christopher was born, so was his illegitimate son, Joseph. Rumors began to rise after his wife noticed the strange and sudden absence of the housekeeper and wondered if there may have been a more sinister reason for her departure. It was later revealed in 2011 though that Arnold decided to address the rumors and claim Joseph as his own. It turns out that Arnold had given Mildred a large severance package so that she could properly raise their son, leaving on what they called good terms. Eventually though, after many years of trying and lots of paperwork, Maria and Arnold were finally divorced and he is now able to spend more time as a father. Mildred is a chef and little Joseph is now all grown up and following in his father's footsteps as both a model and in the movie industry. And number 1. Donald Trump's criminal activities. In 2006, Donald Trump was known solely as a wealthy real estate mogul with a hit reality show called The Apprentice. He had recently been married to Melania Trump and he had a newly born 4-month-old baby. However, reports leaked that Trump was in the midst of an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels after she filed a civil suit claiming that the contract he made her sign to keep quiet was invalid. Daniels claimed that herself and Trump had shared a very intimate relationship for roughly a year during his marriage to Melania. These weren't the first allegations of an affair, as Trump has been back and forth in the media since the 1970s, being accused by 26 women of harassment or misconduct. While these rumors never held any merit at first, the truth was finally set free. After being the most chaotic president in recent history, it was announced in March that Trump was being arrested on 34 separate violations of a New York law against falsifying business documents to conceal another crime. Basically, over the years, he was essentially taking company money and using it to pay off anyone who might have been a threat to him, both personally and politically. Well hey, thanks for the free money, Donnie. We'll see you never.
Number 10. Jada's biases. When the Oscars So White controversy erupted in 2016, Will and Jada were among the most vocal critics of the Academy. For the second year in a row, all 20 of the actors nominated in the lead and supporting role categories were white, something that had not happened since 1998. Jada released a much publicized and highly mocked video explaining why she was boycotting the event, hoping to shine a spotlight on institutional racism. However, the majority of Hollywood was well aware that Jada was being a massive hypocrite, as during an episode of Red Table Talk, the actress confessed to her own tendency to judge others, revealing she specifically had a problem with blonde white women. According to Jada herself, blonde hair on a woman just kinda sets her off and she's had to hold herself back a few times. She went on to reveal that she had actually turned down several interviews over the years simply due to the interviewer being a white blonde lady. She claims that her bias is due to her history of being bullied by women with those physical traits growing up. Now, I don't know, I got bullied all the time, but you don't see me running away from everyone who wears camo. Number 9. Bad mom. Rumors have been flying around for years that Willow and Jaden Smith basically raised themselves. Their upbringing was nothing to scoff at. Jaden was on track to become an actor after starring in the 2008 remake of the classic Karate Kid series alongside martial arts and opera legend Jackie Chan, but later shifted his focus to more entrepreneurial side of things, developing his own fashion brand, which has garnered him massive success. His sister Willow opted to stick with her creative roots, however, and has made quite the name for herself in the hip-hop genre. Unfortunately, their behavior comes from a place of neglect. During an episode of Red Table Talk, Jaden confronted his parents, calling out their terrible parenting skills. With both being so busy in their careers, they were never home to care for the youngsters. Jaden and Willow recount spending a majority of their childhood with various nannies and teachers, only seeing their parents between projects or if they were working with them, like Jaden and Will in The Pursuit of Happiness. Willow has backed up her brother's story, claiming that the parenting skills forced them to become mentally mature at a very young age, which may play some part in Jaden's success at just 24. Despite appearing to be a happy family unit in the media, the reality is Jaden and Willow have been raising themselves for a very long time. Number 8. Their relationship is driven by money. The Smith family has been at the top of the news storm for a long time, since it was announced that the Red Table Talk show was going to be cancelled and since Will Smith got a little too mad on stage. One topic that was brought up on her talk show before its cancellation was the revelation of an entanglement between Pinkett and a singer-songwriter named August Alsina during a brief break that the couple was taking in the early 2000s. Pinkett was quick to bounce back though after breaking up with Will, entangling with August, and eventually getting back with Will to continue their marriage. It's not all sunshines and rainbows though, as the couple still has marital issues to this day and have been plagued with cheating rumors ever since. They've been thrown even further under the bus by their own kids, Willow and Jaden, who claim that the family is highly dysfunctional behind the scenes. Together, Jada and Will carry around a dark storm cloud of negative energy and spread it to everyone they interact with. You would think these guys would just split and save each other the mental hassle, but just look at Will's house. That thing could fit thousands of people inside of it. Them splitting up would mean losing their fancy house, and we wouldn't want that, huh? We wouldn't want that, real estate brokers of Los Angeles, would we? Number 7. She's manipulative. Many things about Jada's personality made celebrities speculate that she may have a hidden evil personality deep within her. While the 94th Academy Awards were very interesting. After host Chris Rock made a joke about Jada's balding head, Will Smith initially laughed, but then he looked at Jada, who is seen rolling her eyes and giving him an "are you kidding me" kind of look. The look was enough to force Will's smile away and cause him to do a complete 180, taking the stage to defend his wife. Jada is most certainly the reason that this situation took place, despite claiming that she can't make Will do anything. Maybe she didn't do it, but she did encourage him to defend her name, and she did have the power to stop her husband from ruining his career. It's not hard to hold someone's hand and go, "Honey, I am mad, but please leave Chris Rock alone." Number 6. She made Snoop Dogg cry. Just after Kobe Bryant passed away in 2020, Snoop Dogg was quick to call out Gate King after she stated in a TV interview that in the past, Kobe was accused of making unwanted advances on a woman that wasn't his wife. In an Instagram video, Snoop Dogg would call out King, and in the process, he insulted King's appearance before telling her to back off before he came to get her. And she would bring Snoop Dogg on Red Table Talk, where she would embarrass him not just in front of her mother and her daughter, but in front of the entire world. After she told the rapper that she felt hurt on behalf of all women when she watched the video of him going after Gayle. As a result, Snoop would be so embarrassed that he would make another video on Instagram where he apologized to King by saying, when you're wrong, you gotta fix it. This was a derogatory manner based off emotions, and he was raised better than that, so he wanted to apologize to her publicly for the language that he used. Jada somehow made Snoop Dogg retract a statement. That man is a sweetheart, but he can be terrifying if he wants to. This isn't really a rumor, I just wanted the world to know that she made a friendly giant cry on the internet. Number 5. Cheating scandals. For a long time now, Will and Jada have attempted to hide their various marriage misdeeds from the media, but they've never actually been successful at it. While both have been rumored to have been cheating on each other multiple times, it was Jada who was confirmed to be the real cheater. While rumors have been circulating that Will was romantically involved with his co-star Margot Robbie from Focus, those were quickly laid to rest thanks for the entire crew of the project confirming that any photos taken of them on set and in character character. Jada, however, was most certainly cheating on Will a few years prior with her Hawthorne co-star Mark Anthony. And the proof? Well, Will walked in on them getting jiggy with it and was reduced to tears according to Jada. While they were able to hide it at the time, the conversation that took place between herself and Will on the now cancelled Red Table Talk was quite revealing. Not only did this cheating scandal take place, but Jada briefly entangled with a musician named August Alsina when they separated back in the day. This woman really needs to chill. Number 4. She was forced to marry Will. Not only has Jada gone on to roast Will Smith for his actions at both the Oscars and in life in general, but she also shared in an episode of Red Table Talk in 2018 that she cried while walking down the aisle on her wedding day because she never wanted to get married. Rumors had been spread for years that the couple were somehow forced to be together. In the video, Jada could be seen talking about her wedding with Will Smith, and in this, she confesses that she didn't want to get married. She only ended up doing it because her mother forced them to, because Jada was pregnant with Jaden while the two were still dating. She claimed that her mother was not going to be accepting the newborn if the two were just still dating when he was born, so they decided to tie the knot. She then went on to describe how terrible her wedding day was. Oh, was it terrible when everything was really expensive and pretty? That sucks. Number 3. She's a scientist. Although Jada has tried to claim that she isn't a member of the Church of Science, she has been connected to the controversial religion for years. To a point, even an ex-scientist named Leah Remini told the Daily Beast in 2017 that she knew Jada. She's been involved with the church for a long time, and she claimed that she had never seen Will there, that she saw Jada at the Celebrity Center. Lee would then later appear alongside Jada in 2018 on her talk show, where the pair settled the dispute, where Jada claims that the stories are outlandish, but that she did attend some events. Number 2. She wanted to get divorced for years. Breakup rumors have plagued this couple since they first got together in 1997, but they rarely ever came forward to comment on the gossip. However, when the whole Margot Robbie rumor thing began to circulate, Will decided to finally speak up and clear the record. Himself and Jada were not getting divorced, and he was not dating Margot Robbie. Jada backed up the statement on Entertainment Tonight when the question of why people seem to want them to fall apart came up. While they presented a united front, conversations later on the matter suggested that these two had at least spoken about it at one point or another. During Will's appearance on Red Table Talk, the topic came up again, and Will said that he would never get divorced as it was something that he had already done and would like to avoid repeating if possible. Jada laughed and said, yeah, not an option. But when she had Toni Braxton on as a guest, she claimed that she simply wasn't mature enough to get divorced, which makes it sound like she's down to leave Will, she just can't do it right now. Jada is just counting down the days till she finally turns 18 mentally and kicks his butt to the curb. And at number 1, she yelled at Barbie. Although Jada and Will have been married since 1997, it's clear that she doesn't think her marriage is really as strong as it is, to the point where she once confidently felt that Margot Robbie could sweep in at any moment and steal her man. Even though the couple isn't an open marriage, Jada can be a hardcore jealous person when it comes down to it. She lashed out at Margot on set of the film Focus while herself and Will were filming one day. Unfortunately, her biases towards blonde white women got the better of her in this situation, as there was lots of proof that Will and Margot were just friends, but hey, why focus on hardcore evidence?
At number 10, we have how Priscilla was only 14 when they met. We know Elvis has a knack for being eccentric and a real crowd pleaser, but when he is a 26-year-old man who had already begun establishing his career, started dating the 14-year-old Priscilla, it should have caused way more outrage than it did. In 1959, there was over a 10-year age gap between them, and she was legally still a minor. Her parents weren't too fond of the thought of her daughter dating a literal grown adult who happened to be a musician, but they begrudgingly let it slide because he was rich and famous. Priscilla and her family were living in Germany at the time, and the only reason they met was because Elvis was drafted there with the US military, seeing as he was enlisted in the height of his prime. So not only did he have an established music career, but he was old enough to be a US soldier when she was just going into high school. To add to all of this, when he was sent back to the States, he up and left her with no contact and barely so much as a goodbye. This brings us to our next point, about how he was a terrible partner. Before Before he and Priscilla were married, he knew exactly who he was, what he looked like, and the effect he had on young women. So, in a very scummy fashion, he would often create narratives to convince women to spend the night with him, whether it be for physical intimacy or emotional intimacy. Actress Sybil Shepherd said that she had a brief affair with him and she was pretty disappointed. She even claimed it was highly overrated. According to Priscilla, however, he was skilled in every way except for the actual deed itself. She was raised Catholic, so maintaining purity before marriage was a must, and he abided by that, but barely. After they were married, he gave Priscilla a child, Lisa Marie, and he refused to have any sort of intimacy with her after she was born, and that is where the marriage began to fall apart. Apparently, up until his passing, he needed to have a woman in his bed, whether or not he was performing or whether or not he was married. This leads us to point number 8, about how often he really cheated on her. I mean, when you're that rich and famous, he used that as an excuse to justify his actions, which is already an awful thing to do. It began when they actually started dating, seeing as he was mucking around with 14-year-old Priscilla. He also had a spicy thing with his private secretary, who was only 19 at the time. He would often bounce around from woman to woman just to feel something different every night. And of course, he could get away with it because he's Elvis. When he left Germany and went back to Tennessee, he got into a short-lived relationship with Anita Wood, and she discovered he would often have wild nights with young girls. She even found a letter from Priscilla begging him to move her to the States so they could be together again. This is when Anita saw behind the curtain, and she left him shortly after. But because Priscilla was young and naive, she would have been willing when Elvis introduced new players to the game, if you catch my drift. His excuse for his unfaithful actions was that he was famous and that's just who he was, and she could accept him for who he was or leave. In a healthy relationship, that isn't a position you should ever be in, famous or not. At number 7, we have his use of substances. It's no secret that Elvis has severe substance issues. It was the 60s, so even soda pop had substances mixed in. Linda Thompson was one of his past relationships, and in her autobiography, she went into detail about what it was like being with him while he was struggling. Apparently, while they were together, she had saved his life multiple times because she found him unconscious face down on the floor or having taken too much prescription medication. She said he felt like he couldn't be harmed by the medications he was taking, even if it was far too much. She said that he had over a dozen different medication bottles on his nightstand when they went to Vegas for their first trip together. It got to a point where he would take an absurd amount of sleeping pills to sleep through the entire day so he would be rested enough to stay up all night. All the medication really did was have a hand in his passing. At number 6, we have how Priscilla was a co-producer of the movie. It isn't a dark Elvis secret, but it makes the amount of stuff he did in the movie all the more haunting. She wanted to make sure that it was both accurate and dramatic at the same time, and so that she could recreate scenes that accurately represented her time with Elvis. Priscilla's book, Elvis and Me, gave very good details about the situations she was put in, and she had no fear dragging his name through the mud, considering everything he put her through. The most interesting part is that when the casting director for the movie did an interview with Lisa Marie, Elvis and Priscilla's daughter, she didn't see what Priscilla was talking about, and she thinks her mother made him seem way more awful than he actually was, and that her book was vengeful and hateful, and Lisa Marie couldn't understand why. Lisa Marie actually had issues very similar to her father's, so it makes sense why she would be so blind to his personal life problems. At number 5, we have how often Elvis left. Now, this one is less shocking than some of the others, which is why it comes right in the middle of our list. We knew he left Priscilla high and dry when she was a teenager, but even when they were living together, he would often be gone for months at a time, just to be home for a few days, to leave again. This took a serious toll on Priscilla's mental health. He would leave for many different reasons. Sometimes it was tours, sometimes it was for movies, other times for interviews, but she was at home alone all the same. Well, at one point, she decided she had enough and made a surprise appearance in Los Angeles where he was filming at the time. Instead of him being happy and welcoming his wife to the set, he threatened her and sent her away, and said that she needed to accept that that was who he was. This should have been her breaking point, but instead she still married him, which led to a very mentally damaging relationship that only lasted a few more years before she decided it was time to leave him. At number 4, we have how Priscilla was barely legal when they were married. Now, I've mentioned it a few times in the list already that she was only 14 when they met and dated for the first time. But when he finally paid her to move in with him, she was still in high school. Her parents were very against the idea of her moving in with him across the world, but reluctantly they agreed, and she finished her final year in high school in Tennessee. But because she was living a very lavish and fancy lifestyle, being Elvis's girlfriend, she barely managed to pass her final year. They got married in 1976, which would have made Priscilla 22 at the time. She had enough time to graduate and get into the groove of adulthood. The following year, she found out she was pregnant with Elvis's child, and like I mentioned before, that was one of many stakes in their marriage. She was definitely too young to be married and have kids, and it affected her mental and emotional state as well as her physical well-being. At number 3, we have how a book was linked to his passing. In 1977, 3 of Elvis's former personal bodyguards got together to write a book titled Elvis, What Happened. It was basically a tell-all memoir about Elvis and all of the shady deals and things he was involved with, and it gave a deeper look into his substance use and who he really was as a person. Well, the book was released just 2 weeks before his passing, so people theorized that he caught wind of the book's release and couldn't cope with people seeing how awful he really was. Before his passing, he actually tried to stop the book from being published by attempting to bribe the publishers. They refused the offer because they knew the book would make waves across the world. Apparently, when he found out it was released, his heart problems got worse, seeing as he already had high blood pressure, which didn't help with the other bodily issues he was enduring at the time. People think this contributed to his passing, but that was never confirmed, considering he had a whole pharmacy in his system when he passed. At number 2, we have how he wanted to act in serious movies. It's not nearly as dark as some of the other things on the list, but it's definitely an interesting point to make. Elvis got his big break as a musician, as everyone knows, but he was also an actor for a while at the height of his stardom. He often played in summer beach movies or comedies, but he really wanted to get into playing more serious and genuine roles. His manager, Tom Parker, didn't take him where he wanted to be, and he felt like he led him astray. However, Parker did hold up to his end of the bargain. He promised Elvis he would make him millions, which he did, whether it be for the right or wrong reasons. When Priscilla was helping work on the film, she said the director did a great job of recreating Elvis the way she saw him, and how he really was from her point of view. The last we heard, Priscilla and Tom Parker are on good terms now, all things considered. And last but not least, at number 1, we have having his mirrors changed. This point makes number 1 because of the amount of concern it should have raised. When he was still young and married to Priscilla, he had a Beverly Hills home that was far from welcoming. He and his guy friends would invite masses of dancers and showgirls to have nights with them. But it wasn't just questionable adult fun. Elvis had installed 2-way mirrors in a lot of the walls of the bedrooms so he could spy on the other people he invited without them knowing. And he also kept an eye on anyone who was in the house. Priscilla decided it was finally time to put her foot down and say they needed to be changed. Well, after his many affairs, he did change them to be one-way mirrors. But it was so he could have full privacy in his own home, with no opportunities for anyone to secretly be filming him, or be spying on him. How hypocritical. At the end of the day, his life wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and with the release of the movie Priscilla, we are getting a better look into how he really was as a person, instead of just being the character we see on screen and on stage.
Number 10. Amber Heard. According to the internet, Amber Heard is not only an actress, but she's also a humanitarian and a social activist. Okay, sure. She got her big film break starring in the horror movie All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, but I was genuinely shocked when I saw what movies she's also been in. Did you guys know that she was 406 in the movie Zombieland? And she was Seth Rogen's love interest in Pineapple Express. Oh, and she's the reason that Aquaman 2 is gonna be delayed. Since 2016, Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp have been throwing accusations at each other left and right. They were accusing each other of domestic altercations that may or may not have taken place during their brief one-year marriage. Those accusations were confirmed during their very public trial in which Depp was suing Amber for defamation over a 2018 op-ed for the Washington Post. While the trial brought to light some disturbing truths on both sides, the biggest shock came when after several days of interviews, witness statements, and mountains of paperwork, a jury found that Amber's statements were in fact false and granted Depp the defamation. Amber had filed a countersuit, which she also kind of kinda technically won, but it was way less than what Johnny got. Sound files, video footage, and witnesses gave concrete evidence that Amber was the instigator in many of their disputes, and that she was subsequently fired from any and all future projects. Number 9. Ellen DeGeneres. In her first on-air appearance since announcing the end of her eponymous daytime talk show, Ellen DeGeneres called the press cycle around allegations of toxicity at her workplace orchestrated and misogynistic. The announcement that her show would be cancelled came after months of receiving negative press following a BuzzFeed article reporting former employees alleging the environment was racially insensitive, filled with harassment and, hey, bullying too. Ellen maintained in interviews that these allegations were not the reason that she would be leaving the show, simply claiming that the program was no longer challenging for her. While the BuzzFeed report did not allege toxic behavior by Ellen herself, several former staff members claimed the whole "Be Kind" motto was not genuine at all, which was reflected in a Twitter thread published by comedian Kevin T. Porter. He asked people to send in their horror stories about the host's rudeness over the years and received over 2,000 replies. Warner Brothers opened an investigation and included that there were some flaws in the day-to-day management of the studio. Following this, Ellen appeared on the 18th season premiere of her show in 2020 and made an on-air apology to viewers, claiming responsibility, later stating that there was no way that she could know the true nature of the work environment due to the 255 employees that worked for her across multiple buildings. Ever heard of a complaint box? Number 8. Katy Perry collects hair. The singer was once asked during an interview a very simple and cute question of, hey, what's in your purse? And fans perhaps hoped that she would respond with like a bottle of Killer Queen, which was her, cologne, or cupcake crumbs, but Katy Perry answered with, oh, it's just a big empty bag, and then went on to describe what used to be in it. You see, she claimed that while in attendance at her first Grammy Awards ceremony that she got to share a dressing room with Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift. Now, with all that excitement, you'd think she'd ask for a picture, right? Yeah, no, she asked them for a lock of each of their hair, which Katy found, quote, like totally awesome, but hey, that's weird because ugh. She then elaborated that she would tie little bows to each of them and like put them in her purse. This sounds so made up, like how could that be true? No, Miley and Taylor actually backed that story up online, and Perry claims to this day that Miley Cyrus is the most famous person in her purse and in her contact books. Nice. Number 7. Josie Smollett. In 2019, American actor Josie Smollett, best known for his role in the Mighty Ducks movies and his time as Jamal Leon on the show Empire, approached the Chicago Police Department to report a hate crime. According to himself, 2 unknown individuals appeared from the shadows and began harassing Josie. They flung racial and homophobic slurs at Smollett, while one attacker poured a flammable substance on him, and the other began to insert his head into some rope. News of this altercation made headlines in the following days, as it was announced that an investigation would be made to help piece together what exactly happened. Well, too bad for Josie, the Chicago PD are pretty good at their jobs. They quickly found that the 2 strangers in question were 2 Nigerian brothers named Abimbola and Olambinjo, who had worked as extras on the set of Empire. They raided the brothers' home and found documents confirming the pair had been paid $3,500 each to stage the event. They had video footage of the brothers purchasing the masks, gloves, and hats that are seen in the altercation footage. They also found receipts for the liquid and rope used during the attack. Hey, not a great time to keep track of your finances, guys. In 2019, Smollett was charged with a Class 4 felony for filing a false police report, and on top of that, the Chicago PD was suing him for $130,000 for wasting their time and resources on a fake incident. In the end, he spent 150 days in jail and coughed up a lot of the cash. Number 6. Kylie Cosmetics. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan and is extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-up stores to be placed on shelves and in Ulta's 1,000 plus stores. This is unfortunate considering the true nature of just where these products come from. You see, rumors of Kylie's mistreatment for her employees were circulating for weeks after several claims from former employees were made public. It turns out every single thing that they said was true. Many people at the factory that mixed and packaged her makeup and beauty products would report that they were never actually given proper safety equipment that you would require to do that job. They were only given hairnets, lab coats, and safety goggles, leaving their hands and faces completely exposed. Workers would regularly report migraines and chemical burns varying in severity. Now, if this isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. This woman was on the cover of Forbes magazine. She was so proud of her company for not testing products on animals, but like, can we agree that using people is like a billion times worse? Number 5. King Charles's affair. The recently crowned King of England has not always played by the rules. In 1981, Prince Charles married Lady Diana, who was 20 years old at the time, leaving a 13-year age gap between them. Behind closed doors, it was speculated that Charles was never actually in love with Diana in the first place, and that was later proven to be true. While things seemed pleasant on the outside, behind the scenes, Charles was secretly meeting up and having an affair with his ex-girlfriend Camilla Bowles. The alleged relationship was written about in the 1992 Diana, Her True Story, but in 1994, Charles actually confirmed the allegations in a documentary, because that's the perfect place to do it. The couple filed for a divorce in 1996, and Diana died 1 year later. While the now king made it clear that he had no plans to remarry, he ended up getting remarried in 2005 to, oh hey look, it's Camilla Bowles, shocking. Number 4. Arnold's love child. Action movie star and former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger made headlines in 2011 with the revelation that an old rumor was in fact true. In 1996, Arnold was married to Maria Shriver, a member of the Kennedy family, and they were prepping to welcome their new son Christopher into the world. Arnie didn't prep by building them cribs or baby-proofing the outlets though. Instead, he decided to have an affair with his longtime housekeeper Mildred Baina. Around the same time Christopher was born, so was his illegitimate son, Joseph. Rumors began to rise after his wife noticed the strange and sudden absence of the housekeeper and wondered if there might have been a more sinister reason for her departure. It was later revealed in 2011 that Arnold decided to address those rumors and claim Joseph as his own. Turns out Arnold had given Mildred a large severance package back in the day so she could properly raise their son, leaving on what they call good terms. Well, eventually, after many years of trying and lots of paperwork, Maria and Arnold were divorced, and he's now able to spend more time as a papa. Number 3. Donald Trump's criminal activities. In 2006, Donald Trump was known solely as a wealthy real estate mogul with a hit reality TV show, The Apprentice. He had recently been married to one Melania Trump, and they had a newly born 4-month-old baby. However, reports leaked that Trump was in the midst of an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels after she filed a civil suit claiming the contract he made her sign to keep quiet was invalid. Daniels claimed that herself and Trump had shared an intimate relationship for roughly a year during his marriage to Melania. These weren't the first allegations of an affair, as Trump has been back and forth in the media since the 1970s, being accused by like 26 women of misconduct. While these rumors never held any merit at first, the truth was finally set free. After being the most chaotic president in recent history, it was announced in March that Trump was going to be arrested on 34 separate violations of a New York law against falsifying business documents to conceal another crime. Over the years, he was essentially taking company money and using it to pay off anyone who may have been a threat to him, both personally or politically. Thanks for the free money, Donnie. Number 2. Paula Deen. Paula Deen is basically Martha Stewart just from the South. Paula opened her first restaurant in a Best Western lodge in Savannah and called it The Lady in 1991. She went on to own and operate several of her own restaurants, as well as hosting a very popular cooking show called Paula's Home Cookin'. Paula shared her recipes for delicious home-cooked meals and took the cooking world by storm, until 2013 when it was revealed that maybe Paula shouldn't be allowed to have a phone. Rumors had been circulating of a more sinister persona buried beneath the warm, sweet Southern lady we saw on TV, and it turned out those rumors were confirmed by Paula herself. Paula admitted to using racial slurs on her social media posts in the past. She would post these rants and aggressive comments, and then she would just immediately delete them to avoid being blasted in the media. Well, hey, the internet's forever, Paula, and Paula's cooking show got cancelled. It's all good though. She started another show on the very successful streaming device Roku. So popular, just so popular. Number 1. Michael Richards. Michael Richards played one of the most famous sitcom characters of all time on one of the most famous sitcoms of all time. He played Cosmo Kramer on the show Seinfeld for 9 years, and in that time made fans laugh and cry with his hilarious antics and wild lifestyle. Unfortunately, those laughs and cries turned to boos and anger. In 2006, Michael made an appearance at the Laugh Factory in California, where he went on a racially fueled tirade after responding to a heckler in the audience. Rumors of his bias had been circulating for a few years, as Richard wasn't a stranger to using choice words and phrases in his stand-up acts that were considered offensive and racist. Since the reveal of his true behavior, Richards has received an enormous amount of backlash and has given up comedy for good. He was also brought on as a guest on Jerry Seinfeld's popular show Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee and addressed the situation with Seinfeld. Richards seemed very apologetic, and he understood that what he said and did was wrong. But hey man, the words that he spoke that night still circulate the internet to this day. So, sorry Michael.
Number 10. The final season. With any show, as each new season comes out, avid viewers and haters alike wonder just when the show will finally end. We've seen shows like Supernatural go on to live far past their expected lifespan, and usually for the worst. I'm sure none of us want to see a show as standout as Stranger Things become a convoluted mess of death, resurrection, and reused plot lines. With season 4 coming to a close, many people are anxious at the thought that season 5 may be the show's last. Actor of Dustin Henderson, Gaten Matarazzo, said he's not sure when it'll end, but he'll continue to act in it. He says he thinks that the Duffer Brothers have an idea of what they want to do with the show, and they're just playing it by ear and figuring out how they want to do it. It seems the Duffer Brothers themselves agree with that sentiment, as they stated that they know what the end is and when it is. We can only sit and wait for an announcement, as who knows how many plots the brothers have planned out for the show. Let's just trust that they have a smart and fulfilling ending planned out that doesn't feature a really bad wig. Number 9. The Break. As we look towards season 5, we can also only speculate on just how long it might be before it ever comes out. Season 4 took so long thanks to the restrictions that it became a trend on TikTok to show a picture of yourself when season 3 came out, and then a picture of you when season 4 came out, often highlighting the drastic changes that took place over the long hiatus. The Duffer Brothers said that season 5 was pitched over the break to Netflix, meaning that there's already a strong outline and understanding for how the season plays out. Hopefully this means it won't take very long for them to get rolling on the production side of things. It seems this could be true, as they also commented saying that the gap should be quite a bit shorter this time. For those of you overly worried about the wait and the potential of the show ending, they also said that they have an idea for a spin-off series of the show, saying they haven't told anyone or scripted anything yet, but the seed has been planted. Personally, I'd like a spin-off series about Muse. Rest in peace. Number 8. Jonathan's character arc. For those of you who don't know, which I'm not really sure why you'd be watching this video if you didn't, Jonathan Byers is the older brother of party member Will Byers. He has played a large role in previous seasons, working together with the older clique, including Nancy and Steve, in order to help fight the monsters from the Upside Down and save the world. However, some people are apparently voicing their concerns over the character arc that Jonathan seems to be taking through season 4. In the season so far, spoiler warning, just for those of you who didn't hear it the first time, we've seen Jonathan and his family be sectioned off to California, separated from the rest of the group and the immediate threats of the monsters in Hawkins. Many people said they're upset that he seems to have been pushed to the side, not having a huge involvement in the main storyline, following his own plotline of his apparently failing romance with Nancy. Jonathan's actor Charlie Heaton commented on this, saying that due to the fact that it's an ensemble cast with new and wonderful characters, they all need a chance to develop and shine, saying that while the story may be going different places than shining the spotlight on him, he feels the tension of the romance between him and Nancy is still an important story to tell. Number 7. Jamie Campbell Bower. Alright, I'm only going to say it one more time for you guys, because this is a big one. Spoilers incoming. I'm giving you 2 seconds to click off. Still here? Okay, let's get into it. Jamie Campbell Bower plays a character called Henry, a character we meet through 11 splashbacks of her time in Brenner's facility. Henry's an orderly, helping care for the children. By the end of the season, we discover that he is actually number 1, Brenner's very first experiment and son of Victor Creel. We also learn that after his time in the facility, he becomes the monster Vecna, the main antagonist of season 4. When he was announced for the show, his character was named Peter Ballard, and he was described as a caring orderly, obviously pretty far from the truth we see revealed. Fans were confused and left with a lot of questions, like why was this Peter Ballard suddenly named Henry Creel? Jamie apologized to fans for the confusion, saying that he has no idea where the name came from, and that he knew he was gonna have a tough time answering if anybody asked about it. He said he was sorry and felt bad for being a part of such a massive red herring. But hey, who knows? Maybe the big plot twist of the finale will be that Vecna decides to get his name legally changed to Peter Ballard. You never know. Number 6. Season 4. Yes, of course, we already know that Volume 1 and the majority of Season 4 have already been released, and if you've watched this far, you've probably already binged it all. But let's take a look back at some of the things that were teased ahead of the season and how they were revealed throughout the episodes, and maybe give us a look into how Volume 2 will cap off the season. Millie Bobby Brown said that we would see Eleven working on herself and gaining independence from the people that controlled her. Obviously, we know that she was reunited with Dr. Brenner and is reliving her past of being in the facility. Moving forward, Millie's comment on independence could mean that we see a conflict occur between her character and Brenner in the coming episodes. Sadie Sink, who plays Max, also said that the villain is the most terrifying and evil character we'll see so far in the show. The show has obviously ramped up its levels of horror, and Sink commented on this, saying that as they have matured, the show matured with them. So looking forward to how Vecna's character may develop in the finale, we have to wonder if the gang will actually be able to defeat him, or if we may be left to see this villain continue to play out in Season 5. Number 5. Character reunions. At the end of Season 3, we saw a lot of the characters being separated as the Byers family moved to California, bringing Eleven with them. And we were teased that Hopper was alive and not so well in the cold and bitter Russia. Going into Season 4, we were left wondering whether or not these characters would see each other again and how exactly it would play out if they did. And as we still have Volume 2 left to watch and characters are still as far apart as being in separate countries and worlds, many fans are wondering if the whole crew will ever be back together again. Millie Bobby Brown commented that seeing the characters in new environments would be refreshing for the show, and that it was really nice to see. Her positive outlook on the situation gave fans hope that the move to California wouldn't put too large a dent in dynamics between the group. Joe Keery, actor of Steve Harrington, however, raised some concern when he stated that he thinks he never saw David Harbour throughout filming. David Harbour, of course, being the actor of current Russian prisoner Jim Hopper. This obviously makes us wonder that the finale will not include the whole group together fighting Vecna, but maybe instead the different teams helping in different ways in their own locations. For now, all we're able to do is speculate, as we know we likely won't hear anything further from the cast and crew of the show. Number 4. Size of the cast. As the show develops and more characters are introduced that seem to be vital to the story, like this season's Eddie Munson, some of us are left wondering, just how big can this cast get? If it keeps going on like this, it might become too large to follow, with some of the characters perhaps being left without any real screen time to develop and have meaningful character arcs. It seems Millie Bobby Brown was also thinking this, as she made some interesting comments about how this cast seems to be growing. She said that the massive ensemble cast is growing at an alarming rate, so much so that they weren't even able to take a group picture. She said, "You need to start killing people off, and we need to get to the mindset of Game of Thrones." Game of Thrones, of course, being the show well known for major characters seeming to drop dead left and right. She even jokingly called the Duffer Brothers sensitive Sallys who don't want to kill anybody off. After these comments, fans are left worried, as she raised a good point. We've seen some major characters like Billy die, but there haven't been any major deaths within the core cast. Perhaps this could be what we should expect from the Season 4 finale. Number 3. Lucas and Max. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, which took place before the release of Season 4, actor for Lucas Sinclair, Caleb McLaughlin, commented on how he'd like to see his character play out in the coming seasons. Many fans were wondering this as well, as we left Season 3 seeing his budding relationship with Max. Caleb stated that he wanted to see his character become more mature, and said that he would likely play a helping hand in Max getting over the grief of Billy's death. Of course, we saw this come true in the first part of the season, as after their breakup, Lucas still attempts to speak to Max and comfort her. He also said he wanted to see his character have more dramatic and mature moments. Maybe we'll get a chance to see a bit more of this arc playing out when Volume 2 releases on July 1st. Number 2. It's all a game. For this one, we're jumping over into the world of theories about the show. This being a very popular theory that what's happening in the show is, well, not actually happening. The theory says that what we are seeing in the show is all part of a future Dungeons & Dragons game between the characters. Obviously, we've seen in the show that all the monsters and villains have been represented through actual D&D monsters. The parallels between the game and what's happening in the show have always been a strong theme. So what if it wasn't real, and was instead adult versions of Lucas, Max, Dustin, Mike, Will, and others playing a game of Dungeons & Dragons and making up wild fantasies about stories and nightmares they had as children? Actors Joe Keery and Maya Hawke said that they personally loved the theory. They also commented on other theories like Max getting powers from the Upside Down, Natalia Dyer commenting that it runs in the family. I personally love reading different theories about the show, as you never know when one might just end up being true. Number 1. Will Byers' sexuality. One of the most popular speculations going around right now as the season rolls out is that of Will Byers' sexuality. Many people have thought that it was hinted even in previous seasons that Noah Schnapp's character might be gay. The theory only seems to be getting stronger, as Season 4 presented us with many scenes between Will and Mike that seem to parallel popular cliché scenes from romantic comedies. When asked about how Will's affection towards Mike seems to be becoming more romantic, Finn Wolfhard commented saying, "Yeah, I think you find out slowly through the season, Will's kind of love towards Mike, and I think it's a really beautiful thing." Noah Schnapp commented on how they never really specifically say what Will's sexuality is, and that's the beauty of it, saying it's good how it can be left up to the audience's interpretation. Millie Bobby Brown also said, "We don't need to label things. Some people don't know, and that's okay," responding in a pretty similar way to Schnapp. While some people have seen a few of Will's lines as seeming to really show a true romantic interest in Mike, executive producer Justin Levy said that there are no accidents in the show and there's a clear intention for every character. While some people think it would be unnecessary or even offensive to have Will Byers be gay, some people have their fingers crossed and are hoping to get more representation in the show, especially from a main character.
Coming in at 10, Tom Cruise is an alien. Tom Cruise, as we know, is one of the most famous members of the Church of Scientology. There is so much mystery surrounding the church, but particularly surrounding the galactic ruler Xenu. According to the Washington Post, Scientologists believe that Xenu once expelled humans to Earth from another planet, and their disembodied spirits live in everyone. Saying that, many have theorized that Cruise is in fact part alien spirit. It has also been rumored that Cruise built an alien bunker at his Colorado estate out of fear that Xenu would attack again. Coming in at 9, Walt Disney's body. Now, prior to Walt Disney's death, his health had been deteriorating for many months before he finally agreed to enter St. Joseph Hospital in California on November 2nd, 1966, where a walnut-sized spot was discovered on his left lung. After a successful surgery and 2 weeks of post-operative care, Disney was released from the hospital before growing too weak and returning to the hospital again. His health then began to fail even more, and Walt died 2 weeks later when his circulatory system collapsed on the morning of December 15th, 1966. Following his death, numerous claims were made that his body was frozen somewhere at Disneyland, specifically under the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. Yikes. Coming in at number 8, Dolly Parton's ribs. Like Cher on our previous list, Dolly Parton has also been the subject to ridiculous rumors about her tiny frame. However, the singer clarified that she's never undergone any such surgery during a 2014 interview with Woman's Day. I quote, "I went into a restroom in Los Angeles years ago and this girl said, 'Oh, I want you to tell me, does that really hurt?' I was like, 'What? Does what hurt?' She said, 'Like when they take your ribs out.'" She then went on to debunk the rumor, saying that her waist is little because nothing grows in the shade. Coming in at 7, Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer is a pseudonym of an unidentified serial killer who operated in Northern California from at least the late 1960s to the early 1970s. The killer targeted 4 men and 3 women between the ages of 16 and 29, with 2 of the men surviving attempted murder. After years of searching, the true identity of the killer has never been discovered. However, there are some out there who believe it to be Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Now, there is no evidence suggesting that this is even remotely true, other than the fact that the senator bears a small resemblance to the sketch of the killer. In fact, an exhaustive investigation by the Washington Post revealed that Cruz was born in 1970, while the first known killing by the Zodiac was in 1968. However, that hasn't stopped people from speculating. Coming in at 6, Cameron Diaz's face. Now, this one is just bizarre, honestly. In 2011, Pop Sugar asked Cameron Diaz what the weirdest rumor she had ever heard about herself was, and she said, "It's that I only wash my face with Evian water." So where does the theory come from? The actress went on to state, I quote, "We live our lives in trailers. Actors are like circus folk. People don't realize that it's super unglamorous. And the water in the trailer comes from tanks they put chemicals in so that it doesn't freeze. It's like antifreeze. You would never wash your face with it. So anyone who washes their face at work would have to use bottled water to wash their face. There's a grain of truth in everything that someone has taken it and just spoiled it. So was someone ruining everything for everyone?" Coming in at 5, Justin Bieber is a reptile. According to some theorists and Australian news website Perth Now, during one of Justin Bieber's visits down under a few years back, hundreds of eyewitnesses apparently saw their idol turn into a giant reptile. Now, allegedly, several witnesses served up some incredibly interesting quotes, including, "There were girls hiding in toilets, crying, guys were running for the exits, jumping in taxis to get out of there." Classic. Apparently, the star in his reptile form has a black stripe down the middle, and big scaly claws that lash out angrily. say. Now, of course, there is no evidence to confirm the rumor, not to mention the fact that the idea of a lizard person is biologically impossible. But coming in at 4, Marilyn Manson. Rumor has it that before launching into his music career, shock rocker Marilyn Manson played Kevin Arnold's sidekick, Paul Pfeiffer, on the popular TV series The Wonder Years. However, Pfeiffer was in reality played by Josh Saviano. But the rumor doesn't stop there. According to theorists, Saviano grew up, changed his name, and reconfigured his career to become satanic rock singer Marilyn Manson. In reality though, the singer was 19 years old when The Wonder Years began, meaning he would have been far too old to play pre-teen Pfeiffer. Again, people don't like math, so they don't want to do that. Coming in at 3, Mr. Rogers' Sweaters. Born Fred Rogers, he was a television personality, musician, puppeteer, writer, producer, and Presbyterian minister. He was also the creator, showrunner, and host of the preschool television series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, the star was known for his adorable sweaters, but this rumor goes that he wore those sweaters to cover up the tattoos from his time as a Navy SEAL. However, the truth of the matter is, Fred Rogers never served in any war. He was actually a devoted Presbyterian minister who neither smoked nor drank. Sad times. Can't relate. In at 2, Taylor Swift is a clone. A couple years back, an image cropped up online of a woman named Zena LeVay, a high priestess of the Church of Satan. However, it was incredibly difficult not to see the striking resemblance between herself and pop star Taylor Swift. Of course, it wasn't long before rumors began swirling, including one that stated Swift was a clone of LeVay. I quote, "The conspiracy theory is that Swift was taken and replaced by the Illuminati with a clone of LeVay, who is apparently a member of a secretive cult, according to BuzzFeed. Neither Swift nor LeVay have debunked the rumor, therefore it must be true." True. And finally, coming in at number 1, Beyonce kidnapped Sia. In 2016, this crazy theory emerged on Brazilian social media that Beyonce kidnapped fellow pop star Sia and was holding her hostage as her songwriter. Lol. A hashtag even began trending on Twitter called Save Sia. The rumor seemed to have begun because of a misinterpreted article back in 2015 in Billboard in which Sia said that collaborating with Beyonce is like a writing camp and that she's very Frankenstein when she comes to the songs. I don't know how that suggests kidnapping, but to each their own, I guess. Like, was Beyonce down in a basement cutting up people's limbs and sticking them to Sia? I don't think so.